Is it time to talk about removing the biggest threat in the aviation industry? Pilots are the leading cause of airline accidents worldwide, and it's only gotten worse. If you find that hard to believe, keep watching. The statistics don't lie. Although technology has indeed made aircraft safer, it cannot remove pilots' propensity to commit errors again and again. Pilots cause almost 80% of airline accidents. There is an alternative. Waymo and Uber have already been transporting passengers. SpaceX has been operating aircraft autonomously to space and back. Predator drones have been operating without pilots for a long time now. The accommodation of imperfection has only perpetuated the imperfection. It has not removed the threat. The American Airlines 965 crash into the mountains in Cali, Colombia was not just the result of navigational errors, but self-induced pressure to complete the mission in spite of the errors that were happening. Post 9/11, the designers of cockpit doors never imagined that they would have to protect passengers from suicidal pilots. AirAsia Flight 8501 was precipitated by a captain who deviated from standard procedures by pulling circuit breakers in flight. And finally, a Pakistani Airlines captain with a history of unstabilized approaches had succumbed to continuation bias, clouding his judgment to such an extent that the impossible seemed possible. This bar graph shows how much accidents caused by pilots have fallen over the last 75 years as a result of technologies that have made flying safer. But while airline crashes caused by pilots have fallen thanks to technology, the percentage of airline crashes caused by pilots have actually gone up. This is because as machines have gotten much safer, pilots have not, irrespective of the technology that they work with. EASA, the European Aviation Safety Agency, just came out with a report and finding in June that they were actually discontinuing a study on the possibility of having single pilot operations of cargo aircraft because the technologies were not advanced enough and the human factors elements were also too complex to even consider at this point. What they're really saying is we don't want to consider the operation of aircraft autonomously without a human at all, because if we did, it wouldn't even require such studies. So, if we do nothing, what can we look forward to? Unfortunately, more of the same. Human factors continuing to plague the aviation industry. The good news is that some aviation companies have already embraced the technology when a pilot becomes incapacitated. A passenger need only push a button and air traffic control is advised and the plane lands on its own. Here's the truth. Although more reliable systems without humans are already at work, whole industries, government agencies, and even law firms depend on pilots being involved, not just for flying, but for failing. Liability law thrives on human error. Billions of dollars are tied to lawsuits, investigations, and regulations that only exist because pilots keep making mistakes. Government agencies spend incredible amounts of money and manpower investigating crashes, the majority of which are still caused by humans. Flight training and salaries also cost companies billions. It would certainly be a paradigm shift, not just in how we fly, but also in how we live. Over 10% of the world's population relies on the transportation industry in order to survive, thrive, work, and live. Are pilots indispensable? Pilot unions will tell you absolutely. But of course, their existence depends on maintaining the status quo. There is a term that pilots use called continuation bias, which means sticking with a flawed plan even when the warning signs appear. So, do we keep designing aircraft around human fallibility, building systems to protect us from ourselves? Or do we finally choose to remove the threat altogether? We have more than warning signs. We have over 100 years of accident statistics. Remember what I said earlier. The accommodation of imperfection perpetuates the imperfection and doesn't remove the threat. What if, for once, we stopped building around mistakes because there was no need to anymore? I'll be completely honest with you. There's definitely something reassuring about knowing that there are pilots up front, someone to talk to, someone who can talk to us, comfort us when we're nervous, like when we're going through turbulence, and knowing that there are pilots who might have to save the day. Most of us have heard about the miracle on the Hudson with Captain Sully Sullenberger. While certainly commendable, the frequency of such occurrences is so infinitesimal that it is more an outlier and doesn't justify, with the sheer number of accidents that are continuing to occur, maintaining the status quo. The data is overwhelming. Human error dominates. According to the Global Aviation Safety Studies by the NTSB, ICAO, and Boeing's own annual safety reviews, almost 80% of all commercial airline accidents are being caused by pilots, even though they are highly trained and they are flying modern aircraft. They're still misinterpreting instruments. They're falling victim to fatigue. They're suffering from psychological pressure, stress, and distractions. Although the technology keeps improving, the human brain still makes the same mistakes, and it will continue to make the same mistakes. Pilots are also prone to cognitive bias and emotional interference, where automation is not. Automation already flies most airline flights most of the time, like 95% of the time. Redundancy in tech now rivals human backup. Removing pilots could reduce catastrophic error chains. Air France 447, the pilots stalled a functioning A330 by misunderstanding the airspeed data. Asiana 214 in San Francisco, the crew misunderstood the automation and mismanaged the approach energy. Colgan 3407, the captain pulled up when the stick shaker warned of a stall. The military and commercial vehicles are already operating and have been operating autonomously for some time now without pilots. The economic efficiency favors automation as well. So, what are the main barriers? Well, they're actually psychological and institutional. Passengers fear giving up human control, despite data showing humans are the biggest risk by far. Regulatory bodies move slowly due to liability and lobbying. Entire industries, including aviation law, pilot unions, and training academies, rely and depend on human involvement. Thanks for watching. Take care.